Today, guys, we have a bit of a different video. We're gonna be talking to Kyle Roof, a world-renowned SEO expert, SEO speaker, and honestly, I consider him SEO royalty. Apart from being known as the guy who ranked a website exclusively with Lorem Ipsum Text, which he'll definitely be talking about in this video, he's also an expert in SEO testing, and he even has a patent to his name. That patent basically has to do with a specific method that tests whether a single variable is a ranking factor inside of Google's algorithm. We're going to be talking to him to see how he got started, what he's currently doing in SEO, his favorite SEO strategies, link building, amongst a bunch of other things. And we're going to finish off with where he sees SEO going in 2023. Let's get into the video. All right, guys. Well, welcome to another video here. We have a very, very special guest today for the channel. We're talking to Kyle Roof. This guy is SEO royalty, and we're gonna talk to him a little bit, talk about some SEO, and see how he's doing. So first of all, how are you doing? How's your day? Where are you right now?
I'm doing great. I am in Chiang Mai, Thailand. I've lived in Chiang Mai for the last 2 years.
Okay.
And, if you're looking to level up your SEO game, I highly recommend checking us out.
Yeah, everyone's over in Chiang Mai, huh?
It's impossible to throw a rock without hitting 2 high-level SEOs here. You will improve your SEO game, I think, just by arriving.
It's incredible. So for all the unfortunate people that don't know who you are, could you give us just a quick intro? Tell us a bit about what you're doing in SEO and yeah.
Sure. I'm Kyle. I have an SEO agency with offices in Phoenix, Berlin, and Melbourne, and we do local to national, international SEO. I have a on-page SAAS tool that helps you figure out what you need to put on your page. And then I've got a community called Internet Marketing Gold, and my courses are in there. And it's a community. We also run tests on Google's algorithm and publish things there as well. I got into SEO about 10 years ago. And before that, I was an attorney, and I took a year off and taught English in Korea. And that year turned into 5. While there, I started a company with a Korean business partner, and we had to build a website, and it was kind of complex. And I realized I could probably start general contracting websites based on the team that I was using for the site that I built, and that's what I started doing. And do you want the long do you want the long version on this, or do you want the short? The short version is then it morphed into just doing SEO, and then shortly thereafter I met my business partner. Is the short version. Do you want the longer version of that? It's I don't know if you've heard it before. I'm happy to tell the story, but I don't want to repeat something if it's something that you might already know.
I'm down for the long version. I think we're all.
The long version is we're going pretty well, and I bring my brother into the company. He does web design and development, and I get the bright idea of opening up a company in India, which is what we did. And we were told that we're going to get a shakedown from the police because that's just how it works. And my brother was in India at the time. I was not. There's a knock on the door. It's the police. I'd like to see your business papers. He shows the papers, and they say these are the wrong papers. And he goes, okay, how much do you want? And instead of asking for the bribe, they put him in handcuffs and throw him in jail. Wow. And so he's in front of the chief of police, and the chief of police says, look, these could be the right papers. I don't know. You have 2 choices. Choice number 1, you leave town tomorrow. Number 2, you sit in jail and wait for the magistrate to come, and the magistrate will sort this out. And my brother goes, well, when does the magistrate come? And the chief of police says, I don't know. So my brother goes, I think I'll leave town tomorrow, sir. So he packs up and leaves. Our employees have obviously fled. We get him back, and we're hemorrhaging clients because we don't have anybody to do any of the work. So he basically says, I can take these 4 clients because he codes and does design development, and I don't code. And so we had just started doing this thing that I had heard about called SEO. Mm-hmm. And basically,
what year was this?
2013. In order for me to pay the rent the following month, I need to learn SEO that day. And that's pretty much what I did. And turns out I wasn't that bad at it. And then I was able to kind of take those clients, keep them, and then start growing out a client base. And years later, we're here today. that was the initial kickoff to this career.
Yeah. So there's an interesting story because I attended the Chiang Mai conference in SEO. It's hosted by Matt Diggity. And I obviously saw you speak, and it was an incredible speech, by the way. And there's the story of rhinoplasty plano, which I think everybody needs to hear. I'm sure you've told it so many times, but if you could just give it one more time for the audience here.
It's a story that will follow me till I die.
Yeah.
Actually, side note, I just got Lorem Ipsum tattooed on me.
No, you didn't.
The phrase that pays. The phrase that pays.
Incredible.
Yeah, so this was 2018, and there was a public competition, SEO competition in SEO Signals Lab, which is a Facebook group. And the criteria for it is you're going to rank for the term rhinoplasty plano. Rhinoplasty is a nose job, and Plano is right outside of Dallas, Texas. And you had to use a brand new domain, and you had 30 days. So it was a real sprint. After that, you could do anything you wanted. And so myself and my team, we entered 27, I think, professionals entered. At the end of the month, we came in 5th. But nobody was really lighting the world on fire. I think we were on page 9. The winner was on page 8. Only 7 people got a site to rank, by the way, which is interesting. On all the people that entered that I think were pretty proud of their SEO skills.
Yeah.
But about 2 weeks later, the site went to page 1. About 2 weeks after that, it went to number 1. About 2 weeks after that, we were number 1 and number 1 on the maps. And then about 2 weeks after that or so, we were number 1, and we wiped out the maps, and we were the knowledge panel. So we were rhinoplasty plano for a bit.
Oh my God.
And people lost their minds over it. And the reason that they lost their minds is because the entire site was written in Lorem Ipsum. Yeah. And what we did was we looked at the math for how many times we needed the target term in specific places, its variations in specific places, and contextual terms in specific places. And then we very crassly copied and pasted those terms into the Lorem Ipsum and launched the page. And the idea was to show that you don't need to write good copy. That's not what ranking is. You need to write good copy so that people convert on your website. And when they come to your website, that they do what you want them to do. But when it comes to rank, Google's algorithm is just that. It's an algorithm. It's math, and you have to satisfy the math. You have to give the math what it wants. And if you do that, that's what actually leads you to rank. And so that was the point that we were trying to prove, and I think we proved it pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that obviously went super viral, didn't it? Everyone.
Yeah. I got a lot of hate mail for that too.
You got hate mail? Why is that?
I got lucky. No. You can't do that again. One that I liked the best was, well, it's not a competitive term. And I was like, well, that's fine. But 27 other professionals were going after that term in addition to the actual sites that were there. So sure, it might not have been the most competitive term of all time, but 27 professionals.
Yeah.
there are only 10 spots on page 1. You've got 27 pros going for it, and the Lorem Ipsum site beat them all. But the following year, so the year you saw me in Chiang Mai, I spoke in 5 different cities. I was in Garden Grove, which is in Los Angeles. I was in Bali. I was in Hanoi, Chiang Mai, Milan, and Munich. That's 6. Oh, I didn't do one in Hanoi. Excuse me. I just visited. But I ranked a site in Lorem Ipsum in each of those cities to show that you could do it. Because a lot of people said, like, you can't do it in like a huge city. So that's Los Angeles, right? And they're like, well, you can't do it in a really small place where people are watching things. That's like Bali. Or you can't do it in this foreign language type thing. You can't do it in that. And so basically I ranked in all those cities showing that none of those things were valid. And several of them are still up, actually, which is pretty funny.
Really?
So like the whole time, like, Google's updates will wipe this out or this won't work anymore and all that. And several of the sites are actually still up. Ranking number 1 and number 2 for all the terms.
That's how you shut up the haters. That's how you shut up the haters. That's incredible.
At the end of the day, I show my receipts.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And most people don't. I'm like, I'm happy to be wrong, and I'm happy to see what you have. But every time it comes to that, I can show something as to what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this because here's something that I've done, and you can see it. And I've yet to have somebody that really disagreed with me on something, then they can show a site that they've done or something that they've done that would contradict it. So I think, I've had the opportunity to go through your channel, and you've got so much amazing content. You're showing the receipts, you're showing this is what this is how this works. And that's why people should listen to somebody like you. But there are a lot of channels that people don't do that. They don't take the time. And I think the reason they don't do this is because they don't have it. So they're really just talking.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you can follow somebody that's just talking, or you can follow somebody that's really showing what they're doing. And it's kind of up to the viewer to decide.
Right. Cool. Let's talk about so what SEO are you doing today? How involved are you in the agency? Yeah, what does that look like right now for you?
My involvement is at the strategy level. So and we have kind of a level of senior account managers and junior account managers, and the strategy kind of flows through them from the senior up to, say, me, especially if there's questions. What do you think? Should we do this or that? Or the client's goals are this. How can we're thinking we're going to do this, but how can we approach that? And so I'm kind of at that higher level. I don't speak to any clients. I don't talk to anyone. I'm not part of the sales process. People might see me speak, but when they come into the agency, they're working with somebody that I trained, and they're going to get 100% attention from that person rather than divided attention from me. But when it comes down to the strategy, I am overseeing a lot of the strategic decisions.
In terms of the breakdown of obviously you have a lot of things going on. What takes up most of your energy? What are you focused on the most right now? Is it POP? Is it the agency? Is it IMG?
It would be split between PageOptimizer Pro and Internet Marketing Gold, POP and IMG.
Okay.
I probably spend a little more time on POP than IMG, but yeah, that is the main focus. It's really nice working on SAAS. It's one of the most fun things I've ever done. And the real fun part is the scaling. To scale an agency, for example, you have to increase your human capital. You have to bring in more people to scale. And that's not really the case in SaaS. Scaling takes on other forms, and the cost to scale is so much lower, and the speed that you can scale is so much faster. And so it's a lot more fun of a project to work on, where you can, as one person, you can put time in and see growth, where that's really kind of hard to do we have 30-ish people working in the agency. And in order for us to grow, it's going to require more people. So that's a struggle. That's difficult to do, and it's more of a task. Whereas when I'm working on the software, I find that a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah. And what does an average day look like for you right now?
Well, when I get up, maybe 6:30ish, I actually start working right away. I'll get the majority of my work done before 10 a.m.
Wow.
And then I don't mean to sound gross, but then my driver picks me up and takes me into the city.
That's it.
So my driver will pick me up around 10. And then if I have any errands to run, she's going to take me there. But usually if there are errands, she'll do them while I'm working. So she'll take me into the city. I often have lunch meetings with people in town. And I'll go to those, and then I'll do a little afternoon work. But it's kind of nice. By the time lunch is pretty much done and a little after, most of my work is completed for the day. And then I'm really just waiting for responses, like from the team, depending on what time zones they're in, or our dev team and stuff like that. So usually that's kind of nice. The afternoon is pretty casual for me, and that I just need my phone. And when people respond, I can just ping something back, more so than needing to sit at a laptop. So I can look at the city, I can meet with people. And then, and then like now it's my 9:44. And so it's not very uncommon for me then to have podcasts and YouTube shows and webinars and stuff like that kind of starting now. So I'll often do one of these a night.
Wow.
At that, but so I kind of get my break, if you will, kind of in that afternoon time.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So nonstop, huh? All day.
That's right. We're going.
Yeah.
We're getting it done.
Amazing. I do want to dive into some of your main SEO tactics, a lot of stuff you talk about. The first one being compound SEO. So for someone, well, first of all, is this something that you're still using, working on with the agency? That's a yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we absolutely kill it with that. That is, it's the foundational thing that we do. And what I like about it, and I teach it and show it to people, is that it's complementary to anything else you might know that works. It's not where you have to completely abandon your system or your thing. This is something that it's so complementary to anything that you might be doing. And so it works for all niches. It works for everything. It's white hat. Yeah. Google proofs your site. Google Update proofs your site. There's so many benefits to it. It's really what I love it. But the basic concept, if people are unfamiliar, and by the way, you can look up Builder Society SEO with no resources. avalanche theory, and this is what it's based on
avalanche
as a framework. We were doing a lot of this in the agency, and then that's Chris Carter of Serplu's post, and he put names on things, and that was actually really helpful for me in using a named framework and for something that I was kind of around, and then able to take that. And then the article itself is not a complete SEO strategy, but it is such a strong foundation for something that you can build off, and so I think that's a great place for people to start. But the basic idea is that your site has a natural tier, and you can think of that as your site's strength. And this isn't some third-party metric that's measuring backlinks, for example. What this is measuring is what terms Google will trust you for immediately without any SEO. This is something that a lot of people have experienced. Let's say you've got some longer tail phrase, you put up an article and you really haven't done much to it, and you're just immediately on page 2, and you just think you're an SEO god. You have a similar phrase, and you launch it, and you can't crack the top 100, and you just realize you're an SEO idiot. What's the difference between those two when they look so similar, right? Yeah. And they might have similar search volumes. It's all within your niche. The difference is the one was probably in your tier, so Google trusted you for it. The second one wasn't. Now you can still win that second one, but it will require boosts. Boosts are things that will push that term, they'll push you out of your tier in order to win that term. And that's totally fine. That's what a lot of SEO is. The issue you run into is that while Google can giveth a boost, Google can taketh away. And so often what happens when there's an update and Google says, I don't like these backlinks anymore, people think of it as being like penalized or slapped, but it's not really being slapped. It's just you moved down. You just put back down where you belong. And so the underlying concept is that you want to identify what your tier is, and then you want to launch content inside that tier to rank without boosts so that you start getting clicks and impressions. And as you move up in clicks and impressions, you move up another tier. And then you can go after terms that are within that tier with little to no SEO. And then now you're winning clicks and impressions, and then you can move up a tier and up a tier and up a tier. So you're slowly but surely building this foundation that is not built on any boost. So when an update happens, you might get dinged a little bit, but you're not going to drop all the way down like people get completely demolished. Yep. You just might blip it down a little bit, and then you're on a fast track to recovery. At the same time, ultimately, sites get to a point that they're large enough and they're good enough and they're authoritative enough that they don't need backlinks. And this is the type of strategy that can help push you to that level where you get to the point that your site is beyond backlinks. Now, that doesn't happen overnight. That doesn't happen in 1 year or even 2 years. But the idea is that this is something foundational that if you're building for the long term, this is going to be slow, steady growth that's within Google's guidelines, will not get you in any trouble, and will ultimately make your site stronger and better. And you're going to get the traffic you need anyway. Like you're going to bring in that should be getting the visitors that you need. So even if you're not tagging those really hard, high level terms first, you should be getting traffic in that is the right type of traffic. And it really does just kind of, as we call it, compound SEO. It just compounds the good. You know, it keeps growing and growing and growing, and there's tons of positive effects.
Yeah, it's incredible. I'm gonna link. I'm gonna have a link to that post so people can check that out. But yeah, highly recommend everybody check out Compound SEO. It's incredible. What about silos? Still working on silos? That's something that you're still betting on heavily?
Absolutely. So something that's not in that article is about more of a framework, or more like then how do you implement this into your site, or how would you implement this into some sort of framework? And so when I have a target page and I'm going to take the time to run that through a tool, I'm going to work on semantically related sections. I'm going to get like people also ask on there. I'm going to do lists. I'm going to take my time to really go after that money page, and then I launch it. I then want to create articles, and they only live to support that target page. So what I do is actually find keywords that are within my tier. As we just discussed, I create, say, 5 of those. I answer the question. I'm not doing any SEO to them. I'm just putting the question or the phrase or whatever in the title tag and in the H1. And I'm going to link all those together, and I'm going to link up to the target page. And I've created a virtual silo. Now, this is not a parent-child relationship. These pages can be pages or posts. They can be a combination of them. They can live anywhere on the site. The connection that is made is links within the body. So you don't want to worry about menu, sidebar, or footer. This is contextual links that are inside the body. So you got to link all of those 5, say, have a link going to the target page, and then they all interlinked to each other. And we're going to create a virtual silo. And that is a huge part of this method where you're building out this content, but then as that, say, one article ranks for its target keywords, it starts to get clicks, it starts to get impressions. That's how it gains its own authority. And then you're going to start passing more and more internal link juice. And so it's going to pass over to its friends, little buddies. They all juice up. Remember, they all have links going to that target page. So then they all start passing more juice. And you're now leveraging the strength that you're building through, say, posting in your natural tier, then to support that target page, which might actually need a boost. But an internal link is nothing that's ever going to get you in trouble. You're allowed to link within your own pages. So now you're just juicing up your own pages and then passing them on to those target pages so you can push up and get those really harder to win target terms.
Incredible. Let's talk a little bit about on-page. This is an interesting one. What do you think is the least amount of effort you can put into on-page that gets the highest result? Like, what's that minimum package of SEO work that people can do that's going to give them like the 80, 90% per on-page?
The top 4 places to put a keyword, as I tested in 2015 and continue to test to this day, are putting your keyword in your title tag, your H1, paragraph tags, and in the URL. If you do that, that will win a lot of terms.
Incredible.
I think a lot of SEOs don't want to let you know that because they want to sound mystical and magical, and it's really it comes down to that. People often skip that too. For some reason, they really try to outthink it. For example, like they'll put, say, a keyword in their target keyword in, say, the page title, but then they'll like do a variation in their H1 that's super weird to me. Keep them the same. It's just super simple. Your title that you show search engines should be the title that you show humans. Keep that as simple as possible. From there, a good page has sections. Humans like to read that way. Search engines like to read that way. Those sections become your H2s. For some reason, sometimes people have like a million H1s on the page, or they've got like H2s above their title or something like that. Keep them in order. Write out your sections. And it's easy too, where you can just go to related keywords, related search terms. People also ask type things. Grab the ones that make the most sense to what you want to write, put them on the page. And now you satisfy what's called centerpiece annotation, which is kind of getting into the weeds. People can look that up if they want. But basically, the more that your page is related to that main topic, the more credit you get from Google and the more keywords you can rank for. So for sure that you're going to write those sections that are going to give you all the credit by just looking at what Google says this is related. There's a reason it's called related, right? Because it's related. And then you can go for the people also ask, those have to be related because they're showing up on the SERP for that particular term. Get those on the page that make the most sense for you, and then simply answer those questions. And you're going to end up with a really strong page that has a great opportunity to rank for that target term, great opportunity to steal people also ask, great opportunity to get featured snippets, great opportunity to rank for all those secondary terms. And it really doesn't take that much time or any fancy tools or anything whatsoever. It's just picking that term and then following what Google is showing you to write.
Yeah, I think people really try to get creative with things where they're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to have 9 H1s and I'm going to have the title tag be something totally different, and they don't include the main. And it's just sometimes you just need to stick to the basics. Those things really, really work. They've been working for years. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely a strong argument for that. The most underrated on-page technique, factor, thing that you do on a website?
Most underrated. I don't know what the most underrated. You do need to write a meta description, and they say, like, don't worry about getting your keyword in that, but you really do, because you want people to click on the result. And I do think that people really do make a connection between what they typed in and what they see in the meta description. So while the meta description might not push any rank, it's definitely going to help you with CTR. And then CTR, there's an argument to be made that CTR is going to help your rank. So kind of an indirect ranking factor, and it is super underrated. People so blow it off. I've seen a lot of people not even write their meta descriptions and let Google decide, and that's a terrible idea. So an underrated thing that people have gotten away from might be putting your keyword in your meta description.
Awesome. And overrated? Most overrated?
Cannibalization. I think people just assume they have cannibalization, but they have no way to look it up or even show it. But I'm not indexing. It must be cannibalization, and then everyone sagely nods. It must be cannibalization, but nobody is really defining what that might be or even how to check for it. So, and what even looks like in Search Console. And so, the times that I've seen a lot of people like, hey, I think these things are cannibalized, and like, can you show me? And they show me, and I was like, I just think Google doesn't like your content. It's not that anything is really being cannibalized. So yeah, that might be the most overrated thing.
I want to talk about Pop for a bit. First of all, what was the main idea behind starting it? Why did you start it? Did you see there was a space in the market? Tell me about that. Tell me about that process.
In the agency, we were using a pretty popular tool, which I won't name, but they had a feature. They had a feature that we liked, and we were using it, and they took the feature away, and I was really upset about that. They did an update, and they didn't say that it was going away. They just took it away, and I called them up, and I was like, "Can I roll back? Because we're using that." And they're like, "No, you can't." And that's when I was like, well, we were getting pretty decent results with that, and we kind of had our own internal system for it. And I was like, I think I can actually do it a little bit better and really get exactly what we're doing and get it within a tool. And so initially we started doing everything by hand. We had sheets out and we were doing hand counts on certain things. And in doing that, then we would basically kind of have the hand counts, and then we were working on the math to find then what we should put on our pages. And we were able to do a lot of work by hand, launch the pages and see how well they perform. And then we got to the point like where we hit a sweet spot that if we did this, it really gives us the best chance to get the most gain from on page. And so then that went from that hand method, which really got us to the algorithm, to doing that as a script in Google Sheets. And then after we broke way too many Google Sheets, we turned it into a Python script. And then kind of from there, like showing people like, would you like this? Would you use this? And people like, I really would. And so then what we decided then to launch it as a SaaS tool.
Incredible. Do you code at all? Are you a programmer yourself or no?
Nah, but no. the whole thing in Pop is my math. So that's my equation that we worked out to do those things. But at the end of the day, I had to bring in our CTO, who is one of the co-founders of Pop. She and I were talking about it, and she's like, I think we really need to use Python here, as we were kind of brainstorming how to do things better. And she goes, I think I can learn Python. So she went out and in 3 weeks learned Python and actually wrote the first script. And it was amazing. And then we just got to the point where they're like, okay, now we need to bring in a professional. But we were able to use her script for quite some time. And she literally just went out and learned Python in 2 weeks. And then in about a week wrote the script. It was pretty amazing.
Wow. And so how does Pop, how does it help someone take things to the next level in terms of on page?
Well, so we do what we call edge analysis. And the idea is that we're looking, it runs on the premise that the secret is hiding in plain sight. Google doesn't hide the ball. They show you the sites that they like, right? And they like them for a couple of reasons. They're on page and they're off page, and maybe a combination of the two. And so then what we're trying to isolate are those factors that appear on those top ranking pages that appear in the search that we can identify and say like, hey, look, what we need to do is we need to do as much as they're doing in the situation. Maybe we need to do a little bit less than them in the situation. Maybe we need to do a little bit more. And then that's the edge analysis that we do. And we do it on the sections on a page that we know move the needle the most. Not every section on a page where the Google looks for terms is rated equally. As I mentioned, there are the top 4 places. That means that there's also then an X4 and an X4 and an X4. And so Pop will pull out the ones that are most likely to move the needle in any given situation. And then we do an edge analysis on how many times you need to use your target term, variations of it, and your contextual term in those very specific locations.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. I do want to talk a little bit about link building. Hope that's okay. I know you're big into on page, but link building is also an important part. So how are you?
All right.
How are you doing link building now in the agency? What are some of the processes? We don't have to go too deep here, but just in general. Is that something that's also an important part of an SEO strategy? Oh, sorry.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, so we have an in-house team for our link building. One thing I would start off by saying is that I am always impressed by how many people have not read Google's guidelines. And so people will say something to the effect of all paid links are against the guidelines. And that's not true. Because if it was true, the guidelines would say all paid links are against the guidelines, and it doesn't. There's a lot more nuance than that. A link that that helps Google understand what your site is about is legal. That's why citations are legal. When you're buying a citation, you're buying a backlink to your site. but that backlink provides information to Google about concerning what your site is about. That's why that's legal. Any link that provides information to Google that explains your site is a legal link. The other thing is that you're allowed to advertise. That's very legal. So long as you're marking an advertisement as an advertisement, that's okay. Yep. So in addition, native advertisement is okay. A native advertisement is where it looks like it has been placed naturally, but it's been purchased. You see that in Facebook or your feed that looks like a post, but it's not a post, it's an ad. That's a native ad. So a lot of things that would fall under placement on a site that can look natural, can look like these guys just naturally wrote this article. So long as you mark it as an ad, that's completely within Google's guidelines, because you're allowed to advertise your site, you're allowed to advertise your services, you're allowed to say you're the best or whatever, at least in terms of what you're legally allowed to say anyway. And then that's allowed to give you a backlink. So when you're within that range, you're completely fine. And it's just being cognizant of that. And then with any spammy black hat technique, when it comes to building links, there's almost always a white hat way to do it. It just takes a little more time. It usually takes a little more time and a little more money, but you can probably get the same type of link with the same value. You just have to do it the right way. And I think it's easier for people to say, all links are against the guidelines, and so then that frees them up to do whatever it is they feel like they need to do, rather than studying the guidelines and then actually figuring out a way to do it that won't get them in any issues with Google.
So what are some of the techniques that you guys are doing in the agency?
So outreach, you can reach out to a site and say, hey, we'd like to place an article. We want to advertise on your site, essentially what you're saying. And then you set it up that way.
Paying for links? You're paying for links?
Great. Yeah, because we're paying for ads.
Yeah. Perfect. Let's say you have a brand new website. You're starting from scratch. What are the first 3 things that you do on this website?
Research has got to be 1 and number 2. Like you can't just do things for the sake of doing it. You really need to have a comprehensive plan. A technique that I got from Mike Martin that I really like, if you're really stuck and where you need to go with something in a brand new niche, grab the top 3 sites, the top 5 sites that always seem to be ranking for those terms, get all their URLs into a spreadsheet, and then look at the URLs that they have in common. And that's going to give you a great roadmap on the pages that you need to get on that site probably first, to get yourself in the game. From there, I'm going to start doing getting compound content out. I want to get that out as soon as possible. The only page that doesn't rank is the one that doesn't exist. So it's an issue of time. You want to get stuff out there and get it going. And that's going to rank kind of quickly. And then the last thing is I do want Google to understand who I am and what I'm doing. So get like Search Console going and stuff like that. But then I'm also going to do rounds of citations. I'm going to get my GMB going because I want Google to understand that we are an entity. We're a real thing. So while I'm getting those pages that I might not rank for right now up and running and optimizing those, I'm doing my compound content because I can probably rank very quickly for that. And I can start juicing up my site and give myself strength. And then I'm going to get my citation links and other links that give indicators to Google that we're a real thing. And those are also very safe links to get, and they help kind of build things up in a very safe way before you do any kind of outreach. So that would be the approach I would take.
Amazing. So are you setting up a GMB for any website you have?
Yeah, because really any website should be a business. I mean, if you're taking money, that's where a lot of affiliates fall down, is that like, well, I don't want Google to know who I am. It's like, well, you're supposed to, because you're taking money. Unless it's some weird situation where you're not taking money, then I guess you don't need that. But otherwise, yeah, you should be doing that. You should have a business, and you should be very transparent about who owns the site and who's responsible for the content.
Yep. In terms of SEO testing, we could speak about this for some time, but you're obviously still doing SEO testing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I run about a test a month, and then we do quarterly reviews where I publish about 3 tests every review.
Would you recommend for people to get into SEO testing? It's definitely something that's quite painful to do, right? There's a lot of waiting, a lot of having a lot of domains.
It is not the easiest. There are other things you can do if you don't want to get into it. Like a big thing is just a field observation. So you see something and like, well, that's odd. And that could be something that you see in a SERP, for example, or something that you see on a website. And then what you can do is you can start to look for it in other places, and you can start to get data on it. So these sites that rank in these certain positions are doing this thing. That's really valid information. And so you might not have tested it, but once you realize 75% of the sites that are on page 1 do this one thing, that might be a wise thing to do. Mm-hmm. So you didn't necessarily have to sit down and do a whole single variable test on it, even if that's possible or not. But you've got things that give you the best chance for success. And that's really what it comes down to, is that you're not going to be right 100% of the time, but you want to be right more times than not. And so what that means is you have to put things into play that are repeatable processes that put you into the best possibility for success. Right. And so you could do a lot with field observations, just kind of taking notes on what these sites do, characteristics they all share. And then if you emulate those things enough times, that gives you the best opportunity to be competitive in those spaces. I'd recommend doing that. I'd recommend doing that rather than trying to figure out a single variable test.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. Any conclusion, any results from tests that you've had in the past year that you could share?
I have the worst short-term memory of all time. One thing that was fun was Ahrefs just launched a search engine a few months back called Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
I don't know what they've done with it recently, but they were talking about they're going to do some rev share thing with content creators. Yeah. And I was like, that's an interesting idea, because if we could get money for content that we're writing, all right, I would like to get that. And so my first thought was I wanted to look at if things sorted in Yep by metrics from Ahrefs. Maybe any of the metrics they have, will they sort that way? Because if they do, well, then that's great. We can just completely manipulate this. Fortunately, which I think is for the good, is that they don't sort by
probably for the better.
Ahrefs. On the other hand, the funny thing is well, what does that say about their metrics? But that's their metrics are great. If anybody from Ahrefs is watching, the metrics are great. And then I also wanted to check too, how well do they sort against Google's results for the same terms. And something that I really liked was that they had some overlap, say 3 or 4 results were going to be the same in both. But then they would have a good chunk of results that were different. And the thing that I liked about that is that you have to assume, even if you don't like all of Google's results, some of them have to be good, right? That's the reason that Google has a market share of 104%. People like the results. But obviously there are things that can improve. And so theoretically, maybe they've tapped into that, where they can get those 3 or 4 or whatever sites that are actually pretty good and should be on page 1. And then they can offer other sites that actually might be more useful. So I thought that was pretty cool that there is some overlap between the 2 results, but that they are pulling out some results that could potentially be better. And so I'm wishing them all the best. I haven't heard much from them since they made that announcement. So I don't know where the project's at, but otherwise it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's such an interesting project. I really wonder how it's going. I actually haven't heard much about it for some time, ever since they had the big launch. Yeah, cool. Any SEO side projects that you're working on, apart from obviously all the other things that you've got going on? Do you run an affiliate? Do you run affiliate websites? Is that something that you're into at all, or?
So not at all at the moment, but that's something that I'm looking to actually get into.
Oh yeah.
When having the agency, I really didn't have the time or focus to get on it, but I would like to have a small set of the sites that are within my portfolio. So that is maybe on the task for 2023. I'll gain a few sites, and I'm just looking for small things too. I'm not looking for anything massive. Just a nice little healthy portfolio that I can manage.
Yeah. Any specific niche you're interested in?
Just any that make money. That's all
Yeah.
that's all I would like to do. I would try to build with an eye towards traffic. So I would probably avoid sites that cannot advertise in Google, for example, just because I would like to have paid ads as a main revenue stream in anything that I do. A friend of mine, he has a travel site, and he's only really focused on paid ads. I think he's got a handful of affiliate links, but it's a small percentage of his revenue. COVID happens and people aren't traveling anymore, and a lot of travel sites start struggling, his income went up because people were still searching for vacations. They just couldn't go on them. So because he built his site based on traffic, he capitalized on that situation, even in a travel niche site. So I think it's gearing towards traffic is always a good play, rather than trying to make the affiliate link your number one revenue stream.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Plus, you're completely dependent on the company that's providing that affiliate link, right? Amazon just decides to cut your commission in half overnight, and you really can't do much. Yeah, you can't do much.
You were making this much, and now you're making that much.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do.
No. I'm sure you get asked a lot about AI content or variations of AI. Chat GPT, have you had a chance to check it out? It's quite new.
I've only seen TikToks on it.
Okay.
I haven't seen any.
Yeah.
I actually haven't played with it myself.
It's really impressive, really, really impressive. I recommend you check it out. But your thoughts on AI content? Are you using any for your agency? Obviously not to write full articles, probably not yet, but just to help out, speed things up. Any ideas on that?
That's exactly right. It's a great way to speed things up, and get kind of a very rough first draft. The more human edits you do, the better. Obviously. The sites that I've seen recently that seem to have been tagged the most are the ones that are just pure AI. So I would avoid that. I'm confident that Google's got a detection tool that can say, like, this is just pure AI. And I imagine they would consider that not adding any value to the web, and would therefore kind of fall under that spam classification. So I would just be careful there. The one other thing I would like to point out is that there's nothing AI about AI content.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not making up anything. It's not creating anything. It has a very large pool, a huge pool, a very large corpus. But in the end, it's a very complex spinner. It's taking information that it has to know about, and then it can create information on that. So I was playing with a friend's Jarvis, and I said, who won the Super Bowl in 2022? And it gave a very confident answer that was very wrong, because it didn't know who won in 2022 because its corpus didn't go that far. It didn't get into February for that information. So it didn't have any recent information about stuff like that. So it is limited by the data that it has. Now, saying all that, it's amazing, what it can do and how much it can process and how much it can do on its own. Don't get me wrong, that is really, really impressive, but it is just a spinner. So the more you edit yourself, the better. The more you use it as a tool, as a starting point, the better. I wouldn't rely on it completely on its own, not now and not in the near future either.
Yep. What do you think SEO is going to look like in 2023? What are you preparing for? What are you thinking?
The last few years have kind of felt the same-ish, where Google gets more and more hostile towards affiliate sites. So if I were in the affiliate game, what I would do is I'd try to turn Pinocchio into a real boy, where, you need a company, you need a business, you need it to be a real thing that Google can identify. And I would check all the boxes that I can to make sure that I'm showing that this is a real website, that has a real company behind it, that has real people writing this content. That's kind of what I would focus on. I would focus on content that has never been a bad play. Out researching your competition and writing content based on that research has always been the right play. And I think if you're ever uncertain, the answer is always researching content. I think that should just kind of be the mantra, which we do today, researching content. So I would hone those skills in, and that's what I would focus on when things look troubled waters ahead. That's where you need to go to be safe and still be effective.
Amazing. That's it. I don't have any more questions. Anything you'd like to pitch or talk about Pop or anything? Feel free.
No, I don't need to pitch. If people
where can people find you? Where can people find you?
There you go.
Is a good question.
KyleRoof.com. Very easy. My stuff is there. You can check it out. Yeah.
Amazing. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks for hopping on. And
I appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out. Yeah. Right on.
Yeah, there's going to be links to everything in the description, to Pop, to IMG, and to the Avalanche SEO tactic that we were talking about, compound SEO, all of that. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.
Yeah, thanks so much.